Wood.
The stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas.
Hey, Genevieve Wood. Just took a phone call from an individual who was called Tillerson a global warming supporter. And I tried to tell him, I said, no, to the extent, the things that he said about global warming is one time he said in 2009 he supported a carbon tax, but he supported that over cap and trade, which in his business is certainly preferable if Congress is going to do something. He'd rather have a carbon tax than a cap and trade.
Yeah, and you see businesses do that all the time, and it is frustrating, but they always figure Washington's going to do something. Let me try to get them to do the least bad thing for my company.
Right.
So I think you're probably right. But, Jamie, as you were saying, I mean, this is why we have confirmation hearings, so that all these questions that people have can, frankly, be answered. I mean, there'll be a lot of opportunity for him to answer, whether it's the energy issues, whether it's how close he is to Russia, whatever the issues are that people have, he'll have the opportunity to answer those questions and see what his position really is, because right now, nobody has really talked to him except for Donald Trump.
Right. I agree.
Right? I mean, he's not held a press conference. He's not said anything publicly in the past since this has been considered. So people don't really know yet exactly what his position would be on these things. But the fact that so many, not just Republicans, but I would say conservatives have come out being supportive of him, I think is a pretty good sign.
Well, and the fact that he has been appointed by a president who just was fresh off of appointing Scott Pruitt to the EPA, who is suing the EPA and who's would be considered the devil for any climate change supporters or whatever, or the green people. So if you're looking for motivations, if you look for the top, Donald Trump has no motivation at this point to suddenly become a member of Greenpeace.
No, look, I think he's looking at individual folks saying, I'm looking for somebody who can be a great diplomat, somebody who has great connections, someone who has made deals, big deals, because that's the job of the Secretary of State. And I think he decided Rex Tillerson has got the resume, has the experience, has the relationships that outshine everybody else I've talked to. It's a little bit of a different pick than what you've seen in past administrations, but Donald Trump is a different kind of president than what we've elected in the past. That's what people wanted. So, again, there's some questions out there about him. We have some of the social conservative groups saying, Exxon gave money to Planned Parenthood. They've been bad on the LGBT issues in terms of promoting that agenda. He should be asked those questions. Were those your personal opinions? Would you see yourself doing that at the State Department? He can be asked all those things, and we'll see what the answers are.
Yeah. What does the State Department have to do with Planned Parenthood, though? You know what I'm saying?
Well, people say that, but look, the State Department, when they are, whether it's UN treaties that we get involved with, these deals that we make with other countries, sometimes it involves a left-wing agenda. I mean,
right.
and that's, we've seen that under other administrations. So I don't want to see that under the Trump administration, but, Trump has said he's not going to be supporting that kind of thing, and I would expect Rex Tillerson or whoever else is appointed to that position to represent the positions of the president and his administration, not their own personal views.
Were you as surprised as I was, although I guess I wasn't surprised considering it was Donald Trump. So he's in Wisconsin last night. He's standing in front of Christmas trees, and he's speaking from a podium that says Merry Christmas. Now, Genevieve, I was trying to think back in my mind whether I've ever seen a president, even a modern Republican, standing in front of a Christmas tree, because everybody's so worried about how that's going to come across and everything else. But There he is in front of Christmas trees, for crying out loud. I loved it.
And this is the second time for him to really make a point out of this that I've seen. I think he did the same thing in Michigan or another place a couple of nights ago where he said, Merry Christmas, everybody. We're going to get back to saying Merry Christmas. And then he did it again last night. Look, I think he realizes it, and the crowd loves it, and everybody who's watching, I think, to a great extent loves it, because it's just reminding folks what a fresh breath of air we're finally getting here, where you can say things that everybody wants to say, but as you said, people have felt intimidated, so silly that people have felt intimidated not to be able to say things like Merry Christmas. And he's kind of saying, yeah, we're going to say that again, and that's going to be it goes to kind of setting a new tone, I think, of what his administration is going to be like, and it's refreshing.
Boy, it certainly is. And honestly, I was trying to figure it out because I'm not quite sure even GW was that up front. You know what I'm saying? And so, boy, it really represented kind of a new frontier for me.
No, it's a total shift. It's a total shift. I mean, I think Bush would have said Merry Christmas, and I think he did at times. But he did make this kind of. I mean, Donald Trump was making a point out of it, and he's. I mean, the stage was set. As you said, the podium had a big sign on it. It wasn't even like President-elect seal or anything. It was just the Merry Christmas sign. He's making a point out of it, and again, I think it goes to saying we're going to have a different kind of tone and action in the new administration. That helps set that tone.
And how do you see so far? I mean, if you had a scorecard or whatever of the cabinet appointments, how are you assessing the movement of his cabinet picks so far?
Look, everybody I've talked to who's been involved in this even longer than I have, go back to the Reagan years, say this is the most conservative cabinet to date, even more conservative than Reagan. Now, we're not done yet, and maybe there'll be a surprise here or there. Maybe Rex Tillerson or somebody won't be, as good as other people have said. But as of right now, I'd have to say, if you're a conservative, you have to be pretty darn happy.
Boy, I'd say. I mean, I don't think these picks would be. They're almost like any Republican would have probably made these picks. And it's interesting you point out it might be the most conservative, even more conservative than Reagan. That's very interesting.
And that's for people that worked for Reagan, loved Reagan, revere Reagan, but today are working on the transition team, and they're just like, these are rock stars of appointments that he's making.
DailySignal.com, Heritage.org, at Genevieve Wood. Always great to talk to you. Have a great rest of your week.
Jamie.
All right. Take care.
Same to you.
All right. Pam Geller has been banned in Britain. We're going to follow up on that with her, and KJ's on the way, too.